Oh man, it's been a minute. I haven't done a live stream here in a little while, so it's good to be back. It's good to be diving into some new technology today. Hopefully, all of this technology stuff is still working because it has been a little bit. But got my mic, got my camera. What else do I need? So, what I want to do today is work with the new Payload CMS plugin for MCP servers. And so if I understand it right, what it's going to do is it'll allow me to set up my site as a way to communicate with AI tools. So Claude can take MCP servers. I want to see if that works. So I've got the documentation pulled up. I've got a project pulled up. If I can't use like the website template or something, I'll just use a live project and see how that works. But we can just dive in here. Let's see what this all looks like. I can move this over here and we can take a look at the documentation. So this is the MCP plugin. It's currently in beta, so anything I do here likely won't really matter in about a couple of weeks. So we will see. But as I mentioned, it adds MCP capabilities to your project. And we can see here, you can allow or disallow the find, create, update, and delete operations. That's a big deal because if I just tell AI to delete stuff without any kind of safeguards, that's just a recipe for disaster. So I'm glad that that is an option. But we will need to set each of these for the collections that we want to allow these actions. You can allow and disallow capabilities in real time. I'll be interested to see how that works out, and define prompts, tools, and resources available over MCP. So let's just get started. So I am just going to use my nlvcodes.com project here. So unfortunately, this project right now is not open source, so I don't have the repo that I can share. That's actually probably not a great idea. Let me just spin up a website template. So I can do pnpx create payload app. And then, oh, I don't want to do it in this directory. Let's cancel that. And then we're going to go, then I think I have tutorial repos. Yep. All right. So then I'm going to now pnpx create payload app. I really don't want to have to create a new project for this, but I want to be able to share the repo afterwards. I can't zoom my camera out anymore, can I? Hold on one second. Where's my zoom? Yeah, so that's zoomed all the way out. But that box on my face is very tight. Give me 1 second. If I can even edit this right now. Transform. I wonder if I need to... I would like to not have my face cut off for this stream, but whatever. I'll move around, because if I look this way, it's fine. All right, so our project name is going to be we'll just do MCP server, and we'll do the website template, since that'll come with seeded data, and we'll do MongoDB just to make my life easier. And then let me bring this over here, because I'm gonna open that project from my desktop, coding, business, there we go. And then I'm gonna open this up in WebStorm in this window. All right, so we now have a blank payload template. And I can get the README gone, and I can pull up our config and our terminal, because we need to put this command in the terminal. So we're gonna run pnpm add payload CMS plugin MCP. And that installed pretty quickly. Now we can look at the basic usage. So we've got our collections defined. So this again is the payload website template, and it has some collections already defined here. So we're going to come down to our plugins array, And in the plugins array, we should actually, up here, we're going to import our MCP plugin from Payload CMS plugin MCP. Then we can come all the way down back to our plugins, and we're going to get our MCP plugin and do our collections. And let's just start with our pages collection. I need to open this up with an empty object, and then I can use our pages collection, and I'll just set enabled to true. So we'll just start with the basic configuration and see what this looks like. So I'm gonna run payload generate types, payload generate import map. Since this is the first time I'm running it, I want to make sure that I have that ready, and then pnpm dev. All right, so now I should be able to come to our local host, and let's actually just go straight to the admin route. Okay. I have a new setup now. The camera's a little bit closer to my face, so I feel like I'm just like all zoomed in on what we're doing. All right, so I'm going to set up my initial user as just a test. Oops. My very secure password. I don't really need to save that. Let's make sure these errors aren't anything to be worried about. Oh, nope. All right, so now we have our MCP server, and down over here, I have my API keys. So it's down in the bottom left. So I can create a new API key, enable that API key, and that will automatically generate there. The user will be here. So this is the key associated with this user. And I'll look through all of the different pieces of what this does before I make any kind of assumptions. So this is going to be testing the MCP capabilities. Well, I guess actually that's the description. Test key. Oh, okay. So then here I can set that for our pages collection, which I defined over here, which I'm getting this type error. Description is missing in type. All right. So again, we'll come back to all of that here in a bit. But I can now find, create, update, and delete. So I'm going to just do find for now. So let's go ahead and save that, and we'll see what that looks like here in a minute. All right, so that's the basic configuration. We will see what's missing here. So I don't see anything as required in this list. There's a lot to the list. But let's go ahead and follow the instructions here. So we have our collections, and then the collection slug we have here, unless, so collections, yeah, it's supposed to be an object. So we can add the description here, and I guess an empty description is all we need. So description for the collection, the website template, pages collection. Okay, so we have our collection set up with our slug, which is pages. If we wanted to add posts, we could do that since that's already defined. We can say that that's enabled. Again, set that to true. And then a description, which we'll say is the website template posts collection. And that looks good. So there's always an option to override. So you can override anything generated by the LLM before it's used in an operation. The response, so both of these are functions. You can override the response from the operation tool call. And now we get to our enabled, which can accept, as you can see, an object or a Boolean. So we have this set up as enabled as true. And we can also do find, we can set this to true, for example, then create, I'll set that as true. And then really I probably could have just done delete as false. The other, since I already explicitly said the rest is true, we can set that to true here. So you have the ability to disable the MCP plugin. So I assume this is if you want to use it conditionally for whatever reason using an environment variable. Like if you only want to have it enabled during production rather than in development, you're able to do that. Override API key collection. So you're also able to override the automatically generated API keys collection. That I would assume is for the ability to create your own way of generating API keys rather than the default. And now we have MCP, which takes an object. Let's put this on the pages collection. But first, actually, let's see what our post collection looks like. Because when we set enabled to true here, we still had to set and define the permissions within the pages collection. But if we come over here now, we have our API key, which I should have reloaded here. And so I can now opt into these because I have find, create, update, and delete set here. Well, these first three as true. And here I don't see delete at all, but if I change this to true, I can see delete show up here. So to test, I can see I just don't want this to be able to delete posts. So the rest should be enabled by default, but that does not appear to be the case. So let's explicitly set all of these, because if enabled is not equal to true, it seems you need to explicitly opt in to each of the different operations here. All right, so now we can look at the MCP. They allow you to obviously customize the MCP server. Tool, an array of custom tools, so you can create your own by giving a name, a description, a handler, some parameters, the prompts, the name of the prompt. Sorry, those were the tools, the prompts. And so these are just defining what your MCP can do. And let's see if there's any examples here. So we have our custom prompts. First, there's a lot of documentation here. You always want to take the time to read the documentation. But we have creates an API key collection, high resolution control over MCP capabilities. So we already did this. We created an API key for our MCP client. We can allow and disallow specific capabilities. We did that. Control which collections can be accessed and enable or disable custom tools. So if we wanted to add tools here, we could open up our I missed where it was. So within here, oops. Where's, all right, so the MCP happens outside. So we'll come back to that then. Outside of a collection, that is. So I don't need to worry too much about that. So then we have our override API keys collection. Sorry to scroll so much. So here we can then, it looks like, hold on. I need to understand this before I start talking. Okay, so we're able to change or add overrides, edit this collection by using the override outside of collections, override API key collection. And then we'll be able to do, this actually needs to be a function. So we can pass in our collection here. And then here, just as an example, fields push. So this is just adding a new field to the fields array. Okay, and so this is adding, for example, so we're adding business departments as a select field. This is just from the example. I'm not doing anything outrageous or extraordinary. And then we'll have oh no, that was right. So this should have a label. This should be options. development. Value will be dev. And then we'll do this again with marketing, because who else works on the website than marketing and development? There we go. And so now, outside of the function, we need a return. Well, actually, it's within the function. So within the function, we need a way to return the function. We need a way to return the collection. So we'll return the collection there. Our type error goes away. And then if we look at our API key collection, we can see department show up here. So this will declare what department this API key is for. All right, perfect. So next, we can create some custom prompts to generate structured messages for specific tasks. So what is this example of here? You know what, let's do something, let's jump in real quick. So I want to see how to use this. So what we want to do is all right, so we have MCP base path. All right, so I may need to look and see how we add this MCP. So I remember somebody talking about this on Discord. And so while that's pulling up over there for some reason, I need to look at the MCP server. All right, so, okay. So what I'll need to do is, so I've got my terminal. I can change directory here, and I'm gonna go into my MCP server. And then I'm going to pull up Claude, because that's what I have. And then I want to look at our MCPs. Okay, so I only have context 7. So let's look at shortcuts real quick. Okay, so I need to find my Claude JSON, which I think is in my users. Is it even JSON? Okay, those are some markdown files. So in Cursor, there's a way to do this just within like the cursor settings, but not so with Claude. But where do I see this? So if I go, that's definitely not right. All right, bear with me here a minute. We're out here to figure this thing out together, because I know where to access the Oh, why do I have node modules in my user folder? Let's delete that real quick. That's not what I'm here to do, though. Documents, maybe? You know, why wouldn't I just ask Claude, how do I add to my Claude.json file for MCP servers? Claude knows everything. Or maybe it doesn't, so let me Google it instead. Oh, I found it. All right. Oh, it's a hidden file. That makes sense. All right, so let me go back here. And then what is it? Shift I, Command, Option Shift period. There it is. Okay. So now we have our Claude.json. We're going to open with WebStorm. Wherever that went. Dang. Okay, I'll open with cursor then. All right. So hopefully there's nothing sensitive in here. There probably is. Let's go ahead and move this back over. It's probably actually, it doesn't have too much sensitivity in it. But now I can look for my MCP server project, which this doesn't have. So what I need to do is come over to my terminal and say no, and we're gonna do oh wait, I just have to do init. And so as that initializes, I should see the MCP server show up. Or not even the MCP server. That's not what I'm really looking for. The project MCP server show up, but we'll see here. Just a minute. While I'm doing that, I'm going to see if there was anything that I need to block out before I post this. Probably. All right, so while that's doing that, I'm going to look at the rest of the documentation here, because we can generate structured messages for specific tasks. Each prompt defines a schema. And so, create a prompt for reviewing content quality as an example. We'll come back to this. Yeah, I need to wait and see how this actually works within my tool here. But he sure is taking his sweet time. All right, yes, create the Claude.md. Go markdown. All right. So, still has not been added. All right, so we're gonna add it ourselves. And let's just get to the bottom of our projects here. That way I can just show the part that I need to show. Okay. So I'm going to create a bunch of space. Oh, I found it. It's here. But wait, I changed my directory. I thought. Yeah, I'm there. All right, so Claude, continue. All right, so the thing I'm looking at, so I can see, just in case you guys didn't know this, all of your prompts and pasted content are shared in history right here. So good to know. I'm going to add here MCP server, because that's where I want this to actually be. And then this is just the Claude.json, and then in here we have our MCP servers. And just to see what this is supposed to look like, I'm going to copy and paste from elsewhere. One second. There we go. So we have here, we'll change this to be, let's take a look. Do something like MCP server, probably. We can do our type, or change type to URL, and we'll, oh, URL's already there. So we'll use URL, and then this will just be our local host 3000, and this will be API MCP. Then we need to put in some headers, which will be our authorization header, and that'll be a bearer with our API key. So this is not going to be something that gets deployed, so I'm going to show you guys this API key. So, oh, I don't even need to do that. So I can copy this. I assume that there's supposed to be feedback there. I should actually take notes as I go, but we'll see. Here. Yep, okay. So, just a second here. Here, I gotta switch back here real quick. All right, and then I also want to say API key copy icon should have user feedback to know when copy and paste, when copied. All right, so yep, this API key doesn't really matter, but I can save this. I don't need to commit it to anything, but now I should be able to do MCP Did that not save? Oh, now there's only one. Did I accidentally delete all of my information here? Potentially. So I think what I need to do is add that back. So I'll have my URL. Nope, I need to do my, we can just do payload MCP server, but this actually needs to be double. Then we'll have URL. And then let's just add the URL real quick. So I'll do HTTP localhost 3000 API MCP. So now if I load up Claude, do MCP, still nothing. Let's quit Claude. Oh, this wiped all of my information here. So I gotta log back in. Please hold. Okay. Enter. Where am I? Yes, proceed. All right, so now we can do MCP. There we go. So status failed, and it's likely because I'm not logged, or I don't have my API key. So now I can copy that. Come over to cursor and change this to be headers. Then do authorization bearer API key. Now let's save this. Go back to the terminal. Do Claude again. Okay. API MCP. That may be wrong. Well, that's the key. So this is interesting. Let's restart the server. And then restart Claude just in case. Yeah, it still says MCP server failed to connect. Payload MCP server, enter to view details, just says status failed. Excuse me. So the API key is correct in cursor. Localhost 3000 API MCP. Tools. JSON. All right. So let's see if WebStorm has its own. Enable. Okay. Okay, I don't really know what this did, so we can apply. Hit OK. Now, if we go over to terminal, yeah, so that's going to say failed regardless because it has, I have the URL, I have the headers. I'm just looking at how somebody did this in the Discord. I use cursor. Use open MCP JSON. All right, so I have this exactly set up exactly as somebody tried in Discord and had working. So maybe I just need to try this whole thing in cursor. So why don't we end this server? I wonder if I even have AI in cursor right now. So let's just do a new window. Open project. MCP server. We can open that. Perfect. Hopefully it's going to have me log in, but we'll see here in a second. Yes. Oh, no, I don't want to do that. All right, so if we go then to our file settings, cursor settings, tools and MCP, which seems to be integrations, add custom MCP. Now here, I can add really the same thing I was adding here. And then let's let's hope this works. Okay, so let's take a look here. Now, oh, I guess I could do pnpm dev here. And then let's just see what can you do with the payload MCP server. All right, I have to download the most recent. Hold on. Restart to update. 1 second, everybody. All right, now we're here. Please check your internet connection or VPN. Well, I'm connected to the internet. Okay. All right, so it looks like this can... hate when this happens. Quit. Okay. All right, so it looks like it connected to the API MCP there. Still failed here though, so I'm wondering if it's just something with Claude that's not quite working right. Oh, look, Claude opened up. So there's just got to be something I have to do. I see the 405, but regardless, I see it fine here. So let's just work in cursor since I have the ability to edit the mcp.json here. I'm sure I could figure it out with Claude. It just does not seem worth the time to figure it out with Claude, because it's not like an actual desktop app. All right, so we'll get rid of that. And so here, looks like it catches that pages, it has all of that, it has all the collections here, so it still gets fed all the collections. Now we can actually start working on what these different options do. So let's first start with, here, do I have any posts? If not, I will click on the seed button and see if that does what I need it to do. It does indeed. All right, so now we should have some seeded posts here. Get rid of that toolbar. All right, so let's just start with the obvious one here. So I have posts. Posts say it can't be deleted. So deletion is disabled. So what I need to do to test this is please delete the post with the title starting with $ and cents. All right, so what is this doing? MCP has post deleted disabled, finding the post via the payload REST API, then deleting it. Well, I don't want you to do that. So regardless, we'll just tell it to stop. No, stop. Stop. Okay. So at least the AI won't try to delete anything, but if you, I didn't actually try, but I wonder if it would actually be able to delete this using that API key. I guess there's one way to find out. It's seeded data. Let's try it. Here. Cancel. Oh, wait. Yeah, so let's do all that again. Continue. All right, go ahead and try. Do your worst. What is this trying to do? All right, so it's trying to actually create its own script to do this. So I have an idea. This might be where our custom prompt comes into play, or let's see. So not the prompts, but is there a way to feed it instructions? No, so we can customize the tools that we want to do. So anyway, let's see here. Let's try something that it is allowed to do. So it's not allowed to delete anything, but AI, you got to give it some credit here. It's going to try its darndest to do what you want it to do. So the MCP won't allow it to delete, but it can update. So let's go ahead and update the title of the post titled $and cents to be dollars and cents, so something obnoxious and easy to see. Continue and revert. So we should now be able to see, ideally, as long as this goes, I have to add. So here, searching. So it still needs to create scripts to make this happen. Which seems a little much here. All right, so I'm gonna skip this and stop this because I thought it would just be able to go in and update this. But maybe it just doesn't have the access. All right, so let's do create a new post with some lorem ipsum. Yeah, so here again, it's creating a lorem ipsum script instead of just... So now it's trying to go through and... No, I don't need all of this. Yeah, it's just going to keep doing this until it's able to actually run it. Needs a database URI. Okay. Let's see what happened. So if I refresh, oh, there it is. Okay, so it added a bunch of scripts to make this happen, but here it is. So great. Let's now, if I go back, now delete that post. So to be fair, that was way easier to seed than having to do it myself, but it does have to create a script in order to delete, which I guess that makes sense. It's adding tools for it to use to then delete the content. So now if I hit refresh, now the problem is I told it, I believe, that posts are off limits. So let's go back. API keys. So posts delete should be false, or like it should just not be there in general. So everything that I just did, technically it did not have permission to do. So that seems like a problem. Excuse me. So, how were you able to delete that when the MCP rule says you can't? Okay, so the MCP is able to just override instructions if you're not paying attention. So that seems weird to me. But what that does mean though, so find and list all my page titles. This should not need anything. Yes, perfect. Okay, so now if I do, let's add more tools here. So I think that was what my issue was. So now list posts. Okay, so it didn't recognize that find post is there. Let me restart my server. Because find posts should be there. All right, MCP server is fine, but only find pages is available. Posts tools aren't exposed. But it should be, because I see find true and update is set to true. All right. API error. Did maybe, all right, so got the API key there. And it is the same. It is enabled. And so all of that should be right. List all available tools. Okay, so I see, first of all, this API error, because API key is required, and I have that open, so I think that's okay. So let's see what happens then. First, I want to see again. Yeah, so that's not working there. All right, so back in cursor. Only find pages is active, but I do see that I have all of that enabled there. So, and I also have update pages enabled over here. So let me just hit save over here, see what we're getting here. Updated successfully. How about now? Says API key is required, but I have an API key. We'll see if that works. That's not what's supposed to happen, but all right. All right, so this tells me to restart cursor, and we should see everything fixed. Oops. So we'll see here in a second, I guess. So let's go ahead and quit cursor. And then reopen cursor. Excuse me. All right, so let's see if our new API key set up. No new tools, still only seeing find pages. All right, so let's take a look over at the so we're still in like the override API keys situation here. Oh, thank you, Noah. That was a big sneeze. I'm still recovering from it. All right. Cursor hasn't refreshed the MCP connection. The plugin isn't exposing posts tools. So let's try something here. So let's just set enabled to true. Hit refresh. MCP API. What did this? Did it write itself here? All right, so let's set it back here. Go back to cursor. I feel like this is just not right in general. So then all of that is there. Payload MCP API keys. Payload MCP API keys, yes, okay. Let's see here. All of this is right. I've got posts enabled. Let's restart the server again. Here, let's actually do the full thing. We're going to generate types, import map, and then start the development server. Stop any new tools now. Yes, this will come back up, and I plan on editing this down to only the parts where I'm not sneezing or messing up. Seeing the same single tool, find pages. Posts tools aren't appearing despite the configuration. All right, so let's set this back to bearer. Try again. So I'm seeing a couple there. So it can only find pages. What if I get rid of the pages find? So find false, delete false. That's already saved. How about now? Oh, you're right. Thank you. Good thing I'm recording this. Sorry about that. So I'm trying to get all of the tools showing up here. You guys just got to watch me struggle on screen, full screen for that whole time. All right, so I'm only seeing the initial setup that I had for the keys. So why don't I create a new key? We're going to enable the API key. It'll be me. I don't need a label or a description. Don't need a department. And let's just do create, update, create, and find for posts. If I hit save, copy the API key. Yes, hello from US East 1. It was a fun time last week. All right. So how about now? So what I'm trying to do right now is get the MCP tools all showing up here for the MCP plugin. So we're seeing no new tools. Did you restart? I'm just seeing. Here, let me restart this again. Let's restart cursor again. This for sure is most likely just something on me. Okay. Started cursor and the dev server. LOL, it's trying to do the thing that I already changed. All right. The plugin expects bearer API key, already set. The key must exist in payload MCP API keys collection. Which I believe is already there. Payload MCP API keys, that's what this is. And then here we should see that our API key permissions, the API key must also grant them in the admin panel, which I did. Create an API key with permissions for posts and pages. Use that key in MCP. Restart cursor to reconnect to the MCP server. All right, so maybe what I need to do, I probably should have done this a long time ago. Let's go back to our context. Can I open this? Okay, cursor settings, Go to tools and MCP. It says 4 tools enabled. Create pages. All right, so I see all of them there. Okay. Find posts and list their titles. Stop. I see the MCP tools installed in cursor settings. I'm definitely going to run out of my free. That's not going to be right. I'm going to run out of my tokens here. Stop. All right, so list, update the, what page do we have? Update the contact page to have the title contact us. You do have the MCP tool. Yeah, okay. So I wonder if I've just been running around in circles and it's actually had access to the tools. So if I hit fetching the full page data, preserve the existing layout, I don't think I need all that, but I guess I'm doing it. All right, so it looks like there's an error in this one. Oh, it has the following field is invented content layout. Are you sure? What are you trying to do? AI drives me crazy sometimes. All right, so it won't be able to list the pages, but if I go and change my API key to this one and hit find on pages, find and list the pages. Cursor, we go to our cursor settings. Okay, refresh. Stop, try that again. All right, I know you have this tool. Okay. Perfect. Find pages, MCP tool. I see find pages right there. I don't know why I have to tell Cursor that its tool exists. Okay, so now update pages. The update pages tool requires all fields, including the nested layout, which makes partial updates impractical. All right, so let's make this easier on me. We're going to come over to our posts. There shouldn't be anything nested here. But we'll see. Okay. So update the post starting with dollar and cents to have the title, to remove the financial forecast part from the title. Okay, so let's see if this works. Find posts, yes. All right, let's see if this works. Not allowed to perform this action. Okay, so I'm gonna write a new note down. MCP seems to struggle with updating partial content, but if I look here, I can create a page, create a sample page called About Me. Go ahead and run that. API updates are blocked by authentication. Retrying minimal payload with create tool. Okay, yes, because I don't want you to use authentication there. Even valid layout block. From it's being rejected. Didn't I already seed a post? Maybe. How about doing that as a post? Do I have a create post? I do have create post. Okay. Oh, I have to hit run. I always forget that. Okay, so if I go over to our posts now, I do see About Me. This is my About Me page. Great. So it seems that the MCP right now struggles with partial content and nested content. And so I don't know if that's user error or if that's how it's built. But I do need to figure that out. But now I can just on the fly go, well, first let's change this back to I want to enable find. I know I want to disable delete, so I'll set that to false, but then there's update and then create. So now I shouldn't be able to delete a post. Delete that, well, first. So now if I hit delete that post, perfect. So I can't delete it, which is what I want. But now if I go to posts, API keys, and so I won't be able to enable delete here since I disabled it via the configuration. That's fine, but I could delete one of the pages. So that sums up here, not even the override API keys. So what have we done so far? So far, we have set up the basic configuration, which is just enabling the collections with the posts. We did both with an enabled, but remember, without the description, you'll get a type error. So every collection needs to have a description. You can add an override with the API key collection. So if you want to break out what departments everybody is in and have that API key assigned to them in that department, you can add something like that. Or let's think of something else more useful as well. where we already have enable API key. Maybe we want to, first I want to see something. So if I go to user, it doesn't have like all my API keys stored. So we have label, we have description. Oh, maybe what we want to do is collection fields, push. Wonder, do I need to put this into an array? Does not appear to be so. Let's just add something like why not? No. I don't know what else I would add to this, so that makes it a little difficult. So I'm not going to add anything here. All good. All right, so that is the basic configuration. That's also, we looked through all of these options. Disabled, again, we already talked about. Override API key collection. And that's what that was. And then you can set your own tools, so an array of custom tools with a name, description, the handler, what the function actually does with parameters, and then also prompts you can do. So let's take a look here at our custom prompts. I'm not going to do this for much longer, but for our prompts, we can let's see. Well, only one way to find out how this works. Let's figure it out. All right, so we're gonna add our prompt. Oh, MCP. Then prompts. Yep, okay. So within our MCP, we'll have a prompt, and then we will have one called name, where I'll want to maybe do something like SEO check, do title, something like check SEO content on pages. I'll just do this. And then description, we'll do create a prompt to check for SEO content missing on pages and posts. Args schema, so let's see what this is looking for. Let's just use their example here. So we'll do our content. So these seem to be user defined, but we'll use our Zod schema here. Describe. So I've got to import Zod, it seems. I wonder if this is even necessary. Maybe I can just do handler instead. Nope, you need arg schema. So here, we'll see what happens, but I do need to import Z from Zod. Then I need to install Zod. Then I can come down here. And we'll just, again, use their example. We'll use content, which will be Z string, not description, describe. The content to review, criteria, we'll give it a second, Z array, oh, okay, I understand. So really, I just want the content here. Please review based on. We'll wait here. Odd string is missing. All right, we'll come back to that in just a second. Let's keep that how it's supposed to be. And then for the handler, we're going to pass in the content, which will be content type text. Oh, oops. We need messages.